Good morning. Today's session is around central finance and more specifically transactions and payments. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be your host, and following the session on Tuesday about student fees, today's session is all about transactions and payments. We are going to cover on how you're going to receive a payment for a fee, an existing fee, as well as creating a non-student fee via different payment methods such as cash, FPOST, and other methods that are available. We're also going to look at how you reverse a payment. It's along the lines of reallocate a student payment. There are situations where the payment's been incorrect, allocated to the incorrect student or the incorrect amount. And obviously, we are going to look at how we are going to be able to reverse the payment and adjust that. We are then going to look at fee adjustment of an existing fee. So in those situations where you don't need to reverse a payment, but just to edit a fee, I'm going to show you how easily it is to do just that. One of today's topic is also how you use student assistance or subsidies. Now, while subsidies would be carried over from SAP into student finance in Sentral once you have available on day one, you will perhaps also need to know how to create a subsidy, of course, if that's the case at your school. So we are going to look at that as well. And last but not least, as I said, in terms of reversing a payment and that reallocation of student. And of course, we do appreciate you might not remember quite everything you are obviously learning in these sessions. So I just wanted to rest you assured that there are numerous help documentations available. If you look at the Help Center, obviously in your Sentral, we have made available QRGs, the quick reference guides that everyone is very familiar with. You will have kind of a big finance user guide that incorporates everything for those of you that would like to have that handy. We also make available frequently asked questions that we are actually continuously updating based on the questions that participants like yourselves are submitting during various tranches. And last but not least, we're going to make available YouTube videos. Now, we are also uploading on YouTube recording of these sessions, and rest assured that we're going to send you a link so you can find it and obviously peruse at your own convenience when you need to. So that's all about the Help Center, but that's not all. You also obviously have the option of lodging the case via the Help Center, as probably you're familiar having used other Sentral modules. We will send you these Q&A answers based on the questions you have perhaps today. There is also a landing page, the Central Finance landing page, that perhaps you remember having registered your interest for Central Finance. That's still valid and is in that link available there. Then my colleague Michelle is also to put them in the chat box. And in addition to finance, obviously, don't forget we have the Central YouTube videos on our YouTube channel. And if you feel that you have a more specific support request, feel free to call our 1-800-998-538. We have a dedicated support line for finance. Also, a gentle reminder that this is our second education session in a series of 6, in addition to your onboarding session. So we looked at student fees, and today we're going to look at transactions and payments. Just a reminder, though, that you can use the same link for the future sessions. So let's jump straight into it. Today is all about transactions and payments. Now, perhaps a lot of you have attended last session on student fees and know how to create student fees. Also, come day one, it's good to understand that the data for the finance module that you're going to access in Sentral is synced via your SAP system, via the department databases, EARN as well as SAP. This data will be synced into your Sentral site come day one, and obviously will provide you more details on the onboarding session. But also it's important to remember that Sentral syncs automatically overnight with EARN and SAP, and also it allows you a manual synchronization. Actually, the synchronization of data into Sentral is going to bring 7 years worth of data from SAP. Let's look at the objectives for our session today. For those of you that haven't had the chance, we are going to spend a couple of minutes so you can familiarize yourself with the module and get comfortable of where you find different things. And in relation to transaction and payments, we're going to look at trying to understand how you would receive a payment and how it works using the different payment methods. We can take payments via cash, via FPOST. There's still some checks and money orders around, or via third parties such as the student and the parents' vouchers. But also some schools have the option of applying some subsidies. Not sure if it's you, but it might be the case in the future. So we're going to look at how you can use the student subsidies as well. And last but not least, our aim is to learn how to fix an incorrect payment, to reverse a payment, and adjust a fee amount. This is the sequence we are going to look at all these 5 points for today. So the first one, we're going to receive a payment via different payment methods. And there are actually 2 types of payment we're going to look at. An existing student fee that perhaps you remember my colleague created a numerous fees last session, but also a non-student fee. So a fee that perhaps does not exist. It might be something that relates to a purchase from a staff member, or a community transaction that relates to a hall hire. Then we are going to look at how you reverse a payment and adjust a fee, looking at student assistance and subsidies, and last but not least, the payment register. So the scenario I'm going to create hands-on is how to receive a payment for an existing fee. Obviously, there are numerous ways of taking a payment, but there are also numerous ways of finding a fee. So first of all, we're going to look at the fee. I mentioned that I would like you to familiarize yourselves with the module. So I hope you don't mind. I'll just spend a couple of minutes on showing you how you can do that. So I'm here in my demonstration side, and obviously you will be accessing your Sentral solution, and clicking here on the waffle icon will give me an overview of all the modules. Now the finance module sits here under the finance group, just here, or sometimes if you're a new user or perhaps you're not familiar already with your interface, you could just go in here and literally search for finance. It will retrieve that particular module. Now, having gone into our module, this is our finance module. Let me just show you what's available here on this page. So on the left-hand side, remember we said that we are synchronizing with EARN for student data and with SAP. These 2 buttons are doing just that. Rest assured though, the synchronization happens automatically overnight. However, you have the option of clicking any of these buttons if you want to refresh the data manually. On the left-hand side here, we have a couple of menus. And while obviously we are going a little bit slower in each and every education session, perhaps the most important one is this register menu. So if you don't mind, I'll just give you a quick overview. The register will obviously have all the students as well as the contact in the respective registers. Perhaps the most important one would be the fee register that allows you an overview of all the fees that you have raised. as well as giving you the option of looking at any fees that are either paid, authorized, voided, or so on, or you could just see all the fees. Authorized is obviously the ones that are still needing to be paid, and all you can do is just go and filter for authorized to get an overview of all those fees. Going back to the registers here in the menu, again, is just more refreshing some of the knowledge that you've acquired perhaps on our session on Tuesday. We also have payments register. In the same manner with fee register, this one focuses on payments and gives you an overview of all the payments, allowing you to obviously filter as well. Or if we don't apply any filter, we'll give you an overview of all the payments that have been done. The same for credits and refunds register. Now, having looked at the menu here, on our homepage, we also have here on the right-hand side all the recent students that perhaps we've searched on or recent contacts. And here in the center, these tiles allow us to go to see the total number of students, the contacts, and refunds that have been processed or need to be approved. And scrolling down here on the page, this is actually providing on the dashboard a link with all the activities that you have created in the activities module and their status. So at any time you would know if you've received permission and how many of the students have paid. So this is just a quick look into the same overview you would get if you would go onto the activities module. So I hope you kind of learned and you are familiar with now with registers, and you'll be able to get a quick overview, especially on fees and payments. Now let's look at, having familiarized ourselves, let's look at how we can actually search for a particular fee. Now this bar here, Search Finance, allows us to search for a particular fee. Now I'll just type here F. So this will allow me to search for a fee either for a particular student, a particular contact, or a fee if I do have the fee number. Now let's try and say, give you the scenario where a parent rocks up in the front office and is trying to pay. The recommended approach is to find out, although you might know or not the contact name of the parent, as well as maybe the parent has the fee printed, which is probably highly unlikely. Our recommendation is to go and search for a student. So let's say I'm searching for Flynn. As you can see now in the finance module, I am now presented with the page that gives me everything around finance for this particular student, Flynn. I can see here the balance, I can see here subsidies available. And if I go here on the left-hand side, I'm going to be able to see an overview of the student with the contacts responsible. So I would know exactly what the situation is if the parents are having split percentage fees. And here on the left-hand side, I would be able to see all the payments as well as all the fees that are outstanding. So I'll click here on the fees with that scenario where I would like to actually get a payment for a fee. And it will present me for all the fees for this particular student, as well as an overview, a total amount due, and a total amount paid. Now, let's say the parent here is in a position where they would like to make a payment for the swimming carnival transport. If that's the case, I will just choose this particular fee, highlighted. If I want to see more details, I'll be able to see when it was created, what is actually the correct, checking that that's the correct amount, and we'll say, yes, I want to pay for this. I'll go up here into Actions and I'll click Receive a Payment. Now this particular fee will allow me to go and pay via several methods. So I can pay it in cash, check, money order, FPOST, or via third party, i.e. vouchers. Let's say I want to pay, or not I want, but the parent would request payment in cash. So I'll go and choose the cash option. It will show me defaulting to the initial amount, the time stamp, and the current date. Now we need to make sure we pay attention to the till, especially if we have multiple tills. So here we might have multiple tills. It obviously defaults to the first one, just making sure that you obviously apply the correct till. The financially responsible adults are coming from our SAP system, and it allows just a selection of who the person is that is trying to pay. Of course, if you have a payment, it's still possible to get payment from, let's say, grandma that's trying to pay for Flynn. But then you could just maybe make a note here, the payment was done by grandma. The estimated bank deposit day is a compulsory date, and it obviously needs to be chosen depending on when you estimate you're going to deposit the amount. So if we're happy with all these details, very easy, we'll just click the apply button. I have the chance to double check. The receipt is going to be emailed to our financially responsible contact that comes from SAP. And let's say here, perhaps the person doesn't have a $20 note. Maybe it's telling me they have a $50. So I'll put a 50 here, and the cash change given will be tracked here as well. I'm happy to looking at the details and summary of the transaction, and then I confirm. So as you can see, it's been as easy as that, paying that particular invoice, which will appear here. So now it appears as paid. And if I come to this student and I want to filter or on the paid invoices, I am in a position to have a look at this and see all the paid fees. So we've looked at that, and as you can see, it's very easy to pay. Now, let me throw a spanner in the works and say perhaps the person that was here trying to pay just actually realized does not have the $50 note. So maybe I just got carried away and I've done everything quickly. Let me actually think about, okay, what do I have to do now if they don't have a $50 note and they prefer to pay via FPOST? So what we'll need to do in this case, we will need to go into that particular fee. I'll click on this, look at the details. And as you can see here, once I go into that particular fee, I have the option of reversing a payment. So as the payment method is incorrect, having now the option to receive a payment via FPOST, I'll click on reverse a payment. I'll make sure I've got the right till. Let's say there's just an error, incorrect payment method, and then I'll just confirm. So the fee goes back to being authorized, and now I'm back to square one, and I can just take a payment via a different method. So in this particular situation, I'll have the option of, let's look for another student as well, just to practice on how we identify a fee. So let's look for a student. We'll go under fees. There are 14 outstanding fees for this particular student. I have many authorized payments here. So let's say we want to get the stationery pack paid. It would be the same. Once we reverse that particular payment, I'll have the option here of going and paying via FPOST. So again, with the amount, it will default. I just need to check the till, the correct amount, who the financially responsible person the receipt should go to. And obviously, it's very important here to ensure I have the right EFTPOS terminal. So there's only one EFTPOS machine I have configured here during the onboarding session, and I just choose that and apply. The receipt is going to go to the responsible person via this email, and all I have to do is just confirm. So as you could see, we done a payment, we reversed one, and by the same token, it's very easy to come and pay via any sort of other payment methods. So when we receive a payment, I just wanted to show you here that it's also possible to actually partially paid, in case you're wondering. So we've done a payment here that I've partially paid. As you can see here on the details, and that's the same with any payment. I can just go select the fee, go into actions, receive a payment, and I can choose to pay via any of these options. Of course, you have the check and money order option if you still take those, or via third party, such as the government vouchers. Let's say sometimes it happens, of course, to get the incorrect fee amount. So if that's the case and we want to adjust, I'll go into the fee, identify the fee, click on the details, and you will see here, just at the top of reverse a payment, a little pencil icon and an I button. This allows me to actually adjust the fee if that's any sort of error. So let's say the fee was paid partially just because it was supposed to be $10 and they have some sort of a discount, or it was the incorrect amount. That allows me to actually edit it, and now I have that $10 and that's been paid. So again, we looked at how we can take payments via, let's go back into authorized, filter some payments. We looked at how we can identify a payment for a particular student. We looked at how we can pay via different methods. We looked at, let's go to this fee. We looked at how we can receive a payment via all these methods, via cash, could be check, money order, EFTPOS, or via third party, as well as how to identify a payment for a student, or we could also find a contact or a particular fee number if you know it. By the same token, if you want to identify any of the fees, you could do so in the fee register, and of course, filtering on authorized fees, you'll be able to see all the fees that need to be paid. Or you could also apply multiple filters, such as authorized and perhaps the activity or the run that you have created as well. So any of the outstanding fees for that particular run. So going back to our slides, we looked at how we can receive a payment as well as how we can reverse a payment. Now, what I would like to do next is looking at how we receive a payment for a non-student fee. So what happens with that fee that we cannot find because it's not been created? So if the fee has not been created because it's not attached to a student, a contact, or it just does not exist there, what we will need to do is to obviously create the fee first. So we'll need to go into fee creation, fee and receipt and just create one on the fly. So let's assume that we're trying to get money for a whole hire via perhaps, let's say, cash, via my till. I need to make sure that's the correct till that I'm applying it to, and I will choose whole hire. It will default to our descriptions, fee categories, internal order, and cost centers that all come from SAP. I just need to make sure that I create the correct amount. Let's say it's $100. And when I create it here, I need to bill it to a contact. Now that contact does not exist at the moment, so I will need to create it. So I'll go in here under search contact when I'm trying to generate the fee. And because the contact, let's say it's a third party, it's the PNC committee, I need to add a non-student contact here. So it would be, let's say, parent, ABC parent organization, Mrs. Smith. I'll put the email and the phone number and then confirm. This will generate the fee, and clicking the generate button will allow me to see the fee generated, and all I have to do is run. So this is a very quick way of allowing me to create a fee for a non-existing contact. If I want to see the details, all I do here is just click on details. And again, if there's anything that I need to adjust here, or is anything is incorrect, obviously I'll need to decide if I do a reverse a payment or I take a payment in a different way, as we looked earlier. So we have now looked at how to receive a payment for a non-student fee. We also looked at the fee adjustment, as I showed you, by clicking on that little fee icon and the fee details and pencil icon. We have looked at how to identify that particular fee and edit the fee. It was the incorrect amount. Let's now look at student assistance and subsidies. There might be schools that have student subsidies for particular students. Now I have, let's look at, I think Laura here. Laura Bunting has subsidies. Now, how can I check? It will tell me to take me to Laura Bunting's page. I'll be able to go here under subsidies and see if she has any subsidies created. Now, there are three different ways of actually allocating subsidies to a particular fee. So one way would be to literally go onto the student page, which we obviously recommend because that will give you a very zoom in picture of that student, and click on subsidies. Now, if that's the case, it looks like Laura has a scholarship of $200 that's unallocated. If the parent would like to use that scholarship, all I have to do is click on this and allocate to outstanding fees. Now I will be the many outstanding fees for Laura, and we can adjust to the parent requirement. So let's say, yes, I want to use it for this $3 here, and maybe just this $8 here and $2 here. So it's easy to actually allocate out of the subsidies. It will calculate the credit remaining, and it would have paid those particular fees. So now under payments, I will have a quick look and I will see all the payments that have been done, and it'll come up as third parties. There's also another way of paying via a subsidy. Let's say this particular fee. So Laura still has a subsidy. I'm going into searching for that student. I'll click here on fees, and let's find an unauthorized fee. So let's say this particular one for the fee art kit. I'll click on the fee. And under actions here, when I receive a payment, the subsidy will come up as well. So as you can see in the drop down, I'll have the option of any of the subsidies that are available. So in a similar manner with how we looked at that payment via cash, check, and money order, I'll be able to use any of the subsidies. So that's the second way of using subsidies. And the third way, which is kind of more generic in the module, I'll go in finance, and under subsidies, I can see all my students and all my subsidies, and I'll be able to have a look here and decide according to instructions from the carer if they decide or not to allocate subsidies to those outstanding fees. So I'll be able to, as I showed you earlier, highlight and allocate to outstanding fees. So there are, as I said, three different ways. One is via subsidies menu item here, which applies from a general all students, all subsidies, or I can go and search for my student. So going and looking here at the student assistance subsidies, we create a subsidy if not already available, and then we apply the subsidy into one of these three ways. Now, if we need to create the subsidy, which is something that I like to show you as well, all we have to do is come in the finance module, subsidies, and I add a new subsidy for a student. So let's say the student has app study. It's a $50 amount. All I have to do is search for the student. Let's say we give it to Flynn. It's creating, and clicking the save button will create that subsidy for Flynn. Now the same subsidy can be looked at, as I said, under subsidies, or by searching for Flynn Brinsmead and looking at his student finance page. So we created a subsidy as well. Now, last but not least, we would like to look at the payment register. I mean, we looked at it briefly, but I would like to show you how it's actually giving you an overview of all the payments has done in a similar manner with the fee register. So if I go into payments register, I have an overview here of all my payments. I can apply or not any filters. If I don't apply any filters, I will see an overview of all those payments that have been generated. I can, of course, export or edit in bulk. If I go on the payments register here and I would like to apply a filter, now obviously I'd be able to see any of the authorized payments, which are those payments outstanding, or I can cross filters. For example, let's say anything that's authorized for a particular payment method if you want. So anything that will allow you to get a bit of a reporting or an overview. So in a similar manner with the fees, that obviously look at the fees, it will give you the payment register, an overall look. So we have looked at payment register in the register menu that obviously offers you at a quick glance all your payments, and it allows filtering. So just to recap, today we had looked at how you receive a payment for an existing fee via various methods, how you can actually identify that payment by searching for a student or searching for all the fees in the fee register in authorized. And we've included the steps here that you might want to make reference further down the line. We also looked at how you receive a payment for a non-student fee, where we actually created a contact on the fly. So we created a fee first because there wasn't available, was not registered via fee and receipt. We need to choose bill to contact. Don't forget about that. And then we need to add that non-student contact, which was our PNC organization. For that example, where we looked at a payment for a whole hire. Then we also look at how we reversed a payment. I've included the steps here as well, and that hopefully will trigger your memory when you're going to come back to this particular video. We looked at how you can adjust the fee. You can adjust the fee by identifying the fee, looking at the details, and clicking on the pencil icon and editing that value. We also looked at how you can use student subsidies for those of you that have subsidies. You need to create the subsidy if it's not already available. As I said, all your subsidies will be transferred into Sentral from SAP. However, we also looked at how you can create one if that's the case in the future. Then once that subsidy is created, we have looked at how you can apply the subsidy against a student fee. And there are 3 ways of doing that. You will probably prefer one and just kind of stick to it. But just to recap, you have the option of finding a particular student fee by looking and searching for a student, receive a payment, and choose that subsidy that's already there and it's created, or looking again for a student under the subsidies menu, find the subsidy and allocate it to outstanding fees, or as we said, looking and via overall receive a payment and choose that particular subsidy. So there are 3 different ways that we looked at. And when it comes to payment register, this gives you a very good overview of all your payments in a similar manner that the fee register allows you to have a good overview on your fees, and it allows filtering as well. So I hope today's session has been beneficial and you've had the chance to learn a lot and you feel more confident around transactions and payments. Just a brief reminder that we're going to have the cancellations, credits, and refunds next session on Tuesday. We're going to recap on how you reverse a payment, but also how you can cancel some payments and receipts. We all know, and we've been through that phase where we had to cancel a lot of excursions. What's going to happen then? We're going to look at how you cancel in a single student fee or in bulk, how you provide refunds to parents and carers, how you credit those refunds, as well as how you check the transaction history for both payments, cancellations, as well as refunds. So we look forward to seeing you at our next session. And also, as a quick recap, feel free to put through any questions you have. Please submit them through. We'll still leave the line open for 5 or so minutes further, and you will receive responses to your questions within 48 hours. A reminder, for further help, you will have the recording of today's session and will be available on YouTube along other materials, useful materials that are already available in the Help Center. We thank you very much for your time. We'll still leave the line open for questions if you would like to submit your questions via the Q&A channel, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye-bye.